what Seshboard is all about. From Seshboard, we got me and Scott. He's both my brother and my technical co-founder. He's the mastermind behind pulling all of this together technically, which has been fantastic. And the never done before community is obviously just one of the most cutting edge, early adopting group of folks at the leading edge of facilitation. And we thought that it would be really so cool to be able to show this beta of Seshboard, even though it's still in beta, still got a couple of little, rough edges here and there, obviously. But we thought you guys would just be the coolest folks to show this to, get your thoughts, feedback, really let us know whether we're on the right track towards building a new sort of tool that can really help to replicate the sort of dynamics of an in-person workshop, sort of replicate the kinds of things that you might actually do in person that may have been a little bit of a struggle online. So yeah, with all of that being said, we're super grateful for you guys for being here and for Miriam for giving us the opportunity to chat with you guys. Maybe with all of that, we can actually go ahead and get started. I'm going to hide that slide there. So here we are in the Seshboard demo. And the first thing that you'll notice is that all of us here are arranged in this semicircle around the screen. And we're all located in the same place on each person's screen. So for example, you guys would see Anna on the far left, Miriam on the far right, on the bottom edges of our semicircle. So what that allows us to do is, some of the potentially, more natural ways of introducing ourselves. So for example, maybe just to begin, we can start off by, each just saying our name and what country we're calling in from, and maybe we can get started on Anna's side of the semicircle and then just go around the semicircle.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today. I am Anna and I'm located in Romania, 2 hours from Bucharest.
Yes, hello. My name is Christian Keil. I'm located in Luxembourg.
Hello, hi, I'm Jenny. I'm in Oxfordshire in the UK. So I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Howard. I'm in Australia, down south of Melbourne on the traditional land of the Wadawurrung people, and it's lovely to see you all.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Nisar, and I live in the Netherlands, in Utrecht to be precise, so that's the dot the exact dot in Netherlands.
Hi everyone, it's Marcus from Sydney in Australia. I'm on the beaches in North Coco, north of Manly, in Sydney, in lockdown. So happy to have the welcome distraction. Nice to see you all.
We cannot hear you, Peggy. Peggy?
Oh yeah. So, okay, this may be one of our beta bugs that we were mentioning about. There may just be a bit of a audio issue there. Yeah.
Peggy on Safari.
Peggy, are you on the Safari browser on a Mac? Thumbs up if you are, and thumbs down if you're not. No. Okay. Well, our apologies for that. As I mentioned, this is the beta version here, and there may be some little rough edges, so do apologize for that. As for myself, my name is Matt, calling in from sunny Singapore, where it may feel like a sauna every day, but in the best possible way.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott, and I'm also joining from Singapore.
Hello, I'm Miriam. I'm calling in from Amsterdam, Netherlands. Looking forward to the session.
Okay. Fantastic. So, as you can see, right, we're arranged in this semicircular view just to have that more sense of intimacy between people. As you can see, we're not in a particularly hierarchical arrangement with each other. really just as though we were sitting at a round table with each other in physical space. And one thing that I'll just mention right off the bat here is that does mean that, for all of the types of activities that we're going to be doing and the types of interactions that we would be having in Seshboard, it does mean that naturally the group size would be, on this more intimate size, going up to, about 20 people or so at a maximum, just because beyond that, this whole arrangement kind of starts to break down, and then, you really just may as well be in a great big Brady Bunch square view anyway. So that's the sort of space in which we're inhabiting there.
I have one quick question, Matthew.
Please.
Maybe it's my screen, but I see us in a line and not in a semicircle. Am I the only one?
Yeah. No, that may be quite common, actually. So for right now, in this earlier stage of the beta, the video display logic may have you seeing everybody like spread out wider, depending on how big your screen is. But that's something that we're building in right now to make sure that the logic always shows people in a circle, a proper circle, no matter how big the screen is. So that's just a little bit of the early days thing. If you're on a bit of a smaller screen, I have a pretty modestly sized screen myself, then it's more of a circle. I have you and Anna on either end of it.
Awesome. I just shrinked my my Chrome window, and now I have a very beautiful half circle. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, fantastic. And I can see that you guys are finding the chat down there in the bottom right as well. So that's fantastic. Why don't I go ahead and just, why don't I take a quick little straw poll of what people are most interested in seeing first, because we have a whole bunch of really interesting activities lined up for you guys that we would like to run through. Some of them are a little bit different from what you may have seen in other tools out there. So the options we have here are either the talking stick activity, probably quite similar to what you may have either done yourself or seen in practice. Only the individual holding a physical talking stick is allowed to talk. And another activity for us, the line game, that you will be able to either take a step forward or take a step back, depending on the questions that are out there. You would take a step forward if this is the first time you're ever using Seshboard, kind of thing. So I'm going to throw a quick little flash poll out there for us. Everybody who wants to do the talking stick game, choose A. And everybody who'd like to start off with the line game, why don't you go ahead and choose B? All right, so I'm just showing our results there. And it looks like we've got some consensus that we would like to start off with the line game, which is great. And also just a quick note on this flash poll, this is the kind of, quick little question out to the group without any sort of like pre-thought, pre-planning, oh, I don't want to have to like type that question out in advance of the session, that you can just sort of throw up by limiting people's choices in terms of A, B, C, or D, and just pull it up in 2 clicks over there. So I'm going to stop the flash poll and open up the line game for us. And the interface here is pretty simple. So you should see all of us in a nice little line in the middle of the screen. And you have 2 buttons over to the right. You could also use the up arrow and the down arrow on your keyboard to move yourself either up or down, depending on the direction you would like to go. And I thought that this would be a cool opportunity to ask you guys if anybody has run a line game, step forward, step back activity, and you'd like to give it a shot here and lead all of us through it by asking questions, then let's see a show of hands and we can put the facilitator power in your guys' hands, anybody who wants to volunteer. No? Okay. That's cool. I have some questions.
I was going to say I'll do a different one, but I don't know if it works with this. I do a sociogram where people move to different ends of the line depending on their level of comfort with a particular statement. But I think we can't do that, can we? We can only step forward or step back.
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So for right now, we've built this activity in terms of stepping forward and stepping back, just as kind of like a proof of concept of the idea of moving in space. But you're right, it's a lot more powerful to be able to let people move in any direction.
So, wherever they want along a spectrum of agreement or a spectrum of comfort or whatever.
Exactly. So that's going to be the next step for us.
So sorry, I'll shut up. That was just
no. It's a great piece of feedback. We've been hearing that from other folks as well. So that's definitely our next way. So maybe I'll start us off with a question here. So take a step forward if you know how to speak one language. I think everybody should be more or less there, otherwise we wouldn't be able to have this kind of conversation at all. All right, so how about take another step forward if you speak at least one other language, at least 2 languages. Okay. How about 3 languages, take another step forward. 4 languages? Oh, wow. Oh, oh wow, okay. Now, am I pushing my luck? 5 languages. Okay, I think we've capped out at 4. Okay, fantastic. So take a step forward if you have lived in 3 or more different countries around the world. Okay. How about 4 or more countries around the world? 5? Nope, that's the end of that. Okay. And one question just on the topic of facilitation. Take a step forward if you have taken a look at least one other new facilitation tool out there in the world, aside from Seshboard, in the past month. Okay. And take a step forward if you have taken a look at least 2 different tools out there aside from Seshboard in the last month. Okay. And how about 3 tools? Wow, okay. Well, from my perspective, it looks like Miriam has reached the top, which is a good natural concluding point for this game. So yeah, well done guys for managing your way around the line game. That's fantastic. I'm gonna bring us back to the main group now.
I just worked out how you could do the sociogram. Sorry, I just worked out how you could do the sociogram. So you could have a top of the screen and a bottom of the screen. And I'm thinking the question I had about with a group the other day was about their response to change. Given the change that's happened around you, how comfortable are you feeling? How energized are you feeling at the moment? Go to this end of the room if you're feeling super energized and ready to go. Go to this end of the room if you're feeling really flat and tired and disgruntled. So you could actually get people to go to the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen, couldn't you? You could do it that way, yeah.
Shall we try it?
Sure. Do you want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right, can you put a
second line?
Yes, let's.
Michelle, would you like to run us through that activity?
Sure. So I'm curious, given all the chaos that's been around us and the change and the challenges we've been experiencing, some people find that really energizing and they adapt quickly and they find all sorts of new ways of working and being, and it's a good thing. And for other people, it's actually really deflating and challenging and difficult. If you're feeling really energized by the change and everything you've experienced, if it's moving you forward and making you feel great, take yourself up to the top of the screen. And if you're feeling super challenged by it and that it's taken the wind out of your sails and you don't know where to look next, take yourself down to the bottom of the screen.
So Michelle, this feels like a binary, like I can't be a 6 on the scale.
Yes, good. And so the clarification is you can put yourself anywhere along that scale that you would like. So if you're feeling middle and betwixt and between, stay in the middle. If you're feeling a little bit energized, take yourself up. Wherever you feel comfortable, from super energized to, flat and wind gone out of my sails. Okay. And then the way I used this in the session the other day, I don't know if it's of interest, was we then talked about for each person what would need to happen for them to feel more energized and inspired by their current situation? What would need to be in place? And then each person could speak about it. And I don't know whether you've got breakout groups, guys, but you know, if people don't want to say it into the room, could do it in little pairs and things. So, but that's cool. I really like that you can work it that way. And it's very graphic looking at it now. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for leading us through that activity, and thinking in terms of both like the top and the bottom of the screen, and just really seeing the flexibility that you can actually run in there.
I should say, the other thing I think is really important with something like that is to actually say to people, there's no judgment here. If you're feeling really energized, that's great. If you're feeling really flat, that's really okay and normal too. We're just curious about where we are as a group right now. So that I think is important.
Matthew, could I try a version of this? I just want to see if this works.
Absolutely.
So ladies and gentlemen, using top to bottom as our axis, I'd like the group to get in order of birthday, with the beginnings of the year at the top of the axis. I want you to ignore the year of birth. Forget what year you were born, just the day and the month of the year. And I want you to I want the group to put itself in order of birthday on that basis. And feel free to talk to each other to do it.
Is January at the top or the bottom? So I don't know. Hey?
January is on top.
Yeah.
Scott, when were you born?
I must be near the bottom because I'm in November.
Okay, so I'm in October. So I'm a bit...
Okay. So I better go there. Is anybody after, like, in November or December? Okay. So I seem to be in the right position.
I'm in November.
In November? Okay, then we better be at the same height. So I'm going to go here. And if you go up one, then we should be exactly level.
Awesome. Jenny, when is your birthday?
I'm in August, so I'm thinking like the bottom of the filing cabinet should be June.
Well, I'm in June. I've stayed in the middle.
I'm in October. I'm in October, and now I think you have to move up a little bit, Jenny.
Okay.
If you're in August.
I am in April.
Okay, there you are.
And Nisa?
And then I'm in February, so.
Very cool.
August.
I'm 17th of December, so does that work? Is there anyone that's after the 17th of December?
13th of December.
Oh, come a little closer.
Okay, so to test if it's worked, I'll just get you to say your birthday. I'm just going to mouse over and say your name. So Matthew, birthday?
February 8th.
Anna?
April 6.
And then I think it's me at June 22. And then Nisa?
August 21.
And Jenny?
August 25.
And Miriam?
October 7.
And then Scott?
November 15th.
And Christian?
November 26.
To Peggy?
13th of December.
Finally, Michelle?
17th of December.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, fantastic. Well done.
Nice job, guys.
Okay.
Great. So I think that you guys can see the sort of general thrust that we're getting at with this feature. But as we mentioned before, definitely what we're working on next is to not just be able to move up and down, but also left and right. So for example, if we were to have let's say some quadrants, let's say, that may represent different aspects of your personality or something like that, that people could actually cluster themselves with each other, or cluster their video around, let's say, topics that are of particular interest to them, just to represent that more graphically.
It's for you, Marcus.
May I ask,
Please.
can we start from the bottom also? From the bottom and going up. I had I used this line exercise to demonstrate how people are not equally born in life, and discrimination. It's actually because they start very low, and you put different questions, and people who are more lucky make steps forward, and the one who cannot answer remain at the bottom or very behind. And that's why I'm asking, can you ask people to start from the bottom?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So I'll just sort of throw out what we're thinking, and then I'd love to, get a gauge of whether you guys think that this makes sense. Is as the facilitator initiating the activity, there's obviously a bunch of different ways that you might want to take an activity like this. So what we're thinking of is, let's say, one of the options may be to have a line. And maybe you can say, oh, maybe it should be a line at the top or a line at the middle or a line at the bottom. Or maybe you're moving people or having people move from, let's say, one part of the screen to another, like a quadrant, let's say, to another quadrant or clustering around things. Maybe in that case, people should start off as a circle in the middle. So they really get a sense that they can go anywhere that they would like. Would that sort of thing make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah, can I also have a quick question?
Please.
So how many people we can put it in a line?
Yeah, that's
What's
a great
the
question.
maximum number?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Please, Scott.
The maximum number is just the maximum supported by the workshop. So for right now, that would be 16 as a hard maximum for us. We're working to increase it. The thing is that it gets a little bit complicated to do so while still keeping the atmosphere intimate. So as the group gets bigger, it becomes more chaotic and harder to look at individuals. But if you wanted to put 16 people on this line, it would work. It's just that the people's videos would become a little bit smaller. Yeah.
Can I ask a question also along that lines of how people could potentially be grouped? And Miriam, I've forgotten the avatar platform that we used last year. Where when you're in a group, then you can see what's going on in the room, but you can only hear what's going on in your group. And it occurred to me, say with your quadrants, for example, or with that little one around change, if I could then group people to have some dialogue in relation to that, that would be really helpful. So group people in a quadrant so they could only hear each other, or group people in pairs to debrief why they'd positioned themselves where they had in relation to the question of change. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's a really cool suggestion. Okay, so in the interest of time, I do want to be cognizant of everybody's time, and there's some more fun features and activities to play around with here and hear your guys' feedback on that. I'm going to bring us back to the main group here and show us the next thing, which is the talking stick. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that activity here. And as you can see, we have a talking stick floating in the middle of the screen. And this would be used in a situation where, for example, people are having a more intimate discussion where attention should be focused on the person who is speaking at that time. And so they can simply take the stick. In this case, I have it, you can see it there. And then when I put it back into the middle, I will be muted and ready to go for the next person to say what's on their mind.
My first observation would be it would want to mute everyone else, wouldn't it, when you take it? Given in real life, that's kind of what happens in this activity. If I pick it up, you effectively learn that you don't get to talk for the moment. Sorry, I should take the stick, shouldn't I?
No, you're,
No,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
took
This
it
is something
away
we were
from
thinking
me.
about. Like, should we, should we just mute everybody or automatically? We were a little bit worried that maybe some people would be confused about the activity in the beginning, and then they would need some guidance from some other people in the group. But I think on second thought, we might want to try that out. We might want to try just meeting everybody first, and then just that it's very clear that only the person with the stick can talk. I mean, for example, I don't have it right now and I'm talking. I shouldn't do that.
I just grabbed the stick. I actually stole the stick from Marcus. Just one observation. What I found funny is the moment where we started to have the talking stick exercise, we all started talking over each other, something that hasn't happened before. And I wonder what the dynamic behind that is. And then the second observation is, I think it would be helpful that once this exercise is started, everyone indeed gets muted. And then when I grab the talking stick, I get unmuted automatically. And as soon as I put it back.
I have a different view.
You
Which
just steal
is,
the stick off of me.
no, it was on the middle.
Oh,
I'll give it to you in a second.
Okay, I hate to interrupt. I saw that too. I saw Jenny take it, and I saw.
Oh, did she? Oh,
You
I'm
did not.
sorry.
You did not steal it though. I think it must just be a bug where if two people
Oh,
claim it at
thank
exactly
you.
the same time,
Then
then the
get
system
it.
doesn't know what to do, and it just gives it
Oh.
to the person who cracked it later.
It was not intentional, Jenny. So not intentional. I just feel differently about the muting because I feel like this activity is a real opportunity to teach people to shift their etiquette. And that rather than us kind of imposing like Big Brother and muting people, it's actually a learning to listen in the way that you would listen in a real environment and take that into a virtual environment, because it drives me nuts that people forget their normal behaviours in a virtual environment. So I'm curious whether it's a way of actually teaching people or reminding people of that etiquette. All yours, Jenny. Look, can I even give it to you? Can I do that? No, I can't.
I actually thinking that if someone holding the talking stick can. What?
We're laughing because due to the delay, I think it's because we're on opposite sides of the world. The stick seemed to be in the center, and then you guys both grabbed it at the same time, and then you ended up getting it. But I saw it flash for Jenny had it for just a second, but then it glitched over to
We have
you.
an Asia bias in the room.
I didn't see that. I'm
No,
so
no, it's
sorry.
okay. It's not your fault. It's my fault, actually.
That's right. I
I'm
just
so
need
sorry
to
for
quickly
this.
say, I just need to quickly say, I really need to go off to this other meeting, and I do really like it. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, and I'm definitely sort of like come onto the website and have another look.
Thank you, Jenny.
Great, thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. What am I going to say? Okay, I'm just saying, if someone that holding a talking stick and can the other people who want to talk, can they request the talking stick? Maybe just in case that everyone just try to grab the stick that who don't get the stick sometimes.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I'd love to actually put that out to the group with another quick flash poll here. So the question is, should there be a way for someone who wants to speak next, to grab the talking stick next, to reserve it and jump in a queue? So select A if you think yes, they should be able to reserve, or B if you think no, they should not be able to reserve.
It might even be nice to have a queue of people like the line up behind the microphone in the auditorium when they say, come down to the microphone if you want to ask a question. And I'll also point out a bug. I'm on Mac Chrome, and having unplugged my video camera to move my laptop over to the kitchen bench to prepare dinner, it's now not letting me, it's not recognizing a video source. I can't flick to the Mac camera in the lid of the laptop. It's when I go to audio settings, it's got no camera available.
I would like to share a feedback that I shared with Matthew when he walked me through the talking stick exercise, and I got super excited. I think that, also building on what Michelle earlier shared, that there should not be the option to reserve the talking stick. Because I have the impression that the moment we stand in line because we want to say something, we forget to actually listen to the other person, because we are so focused on, I want to say that, I want to contribute something. So if I really have to wait until the person is finished and then I take the talking stick, and then I am also invited to refer to what the other person has said before me, and not just drop whatever was on my brain right now.
But what you
I'm still on the stick as well.
yeah. What you do if all of a sudden 3 persons want to take the stick?
I think this is where the art of facilitation comes in, and the guidance of the facilitator.
Okay, but you don't know who raised the hand. In Zoom, they raise hands and they are in the order of the time they raise hands. So you can probably give 1, 2, 3. Now you, Maya, but here you don't have the information who wanted first.
I'm wondering whether, and now this, grabbing the stick and the 2 people thinking they've got it, I wonder whether you can build in a pause so that when the stick gets returned, even if it's just 2 seconds or something, it actually can't be picked up straight away. And that also accommodates what I think, Miriam, I really like that idea, that you just have to let what someone has said settle rather than bang, bang, bang. Yeah. I'll put it back. How do I put it back? There we go.
I'd just like to ask the group a quick question. So right now we're taking the stick, and that's definitely one way to do it. The other way would be to pass the stick to different people. So I've seen this activity sometimes in real life. You're talking, and then it's up to you to pass an object to the next person who you think should talk. Right. The downside to that is it can maybe put that person on the spot. But the good thing about it is that there's no racing for the stick. So I love Michelle's idea of maybe pausing the stick for a little while. We can put a little timer circle around it, sort of a cool down period for the stick. You can't claim it until that period is done. We will definitely resolve the bug where 2 people can claim the stick at once. That's definitely just a bug. So I'm thinking about how to fix that now. But this idea of passing the stick to somebody else, do you guys like that, or do you prefer grabbing the stick? I'm not sure if we want to do another poll here now.
But normally, if you want to pass you say the name of the person who should speak after you. We have this exercise when you say something and then you pass, I don't know, and name another person. It's like
Anna?
Go around. Why do you need a stick for that? We did it when we presented ourselves, for example.
Scott, could you repeat the 2 options for the A and B? And maybe just one thought before that. I don't know whether I think as facilitators, that's what we do. There are different exercises for different purposes of how we want a conversation to go. For some conversations, it might make sense to raise the hand and to hear from everyone in a particular sequence, because we want to hear everyone's opinion on one specific question. And then we don't necessarily maybe need them to slow down and to really listen to each other. I think we don't use talking sticks for every conversation. And the same way I would think of passing the stick. For some conversations, for some topics, it might be very valuable to say, okay, I would like to invite Christiane to speak because I haven't heard from you yet. Or Nisa, what is your opinion on that? And then I can intentionally pass on the stick. But I think it's a different sort of conversation with a different purpose than just having the talking stick or raising hands.
Okay, so I'm gonna launch a.
I was just going to say thank you so much for mentioning that. And what we want to do with these tools is create something that can be used in many different ways. So obviously, if we were together in a room and we had an object like this, it would be up to you to decide, how are we going to do this, right? Is the rule going to be that, we put it in the center and then somebody takes it, or is the rule going to be that you pass it on to somebody else? And so, like, I would imagine that, if we let you, like, without changing too much, just let you click another person to give them the stick, then it would be, let's say, up to you in the moment as a facilitator to decide if that's how you want to play the game, right? But anyway, Matt, I'm going to put this back and then maybe maybe you can claim it.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm just going to, just so that we can make sure to gather everybody's thoughts on this point, because it's a really neat insight, and I'd love to be able to gather that. I'm just going to throw up another quick flash poll here. Option A is, let's say, for example, building another activity altogether where you would be able to do something more directed, like being able to pass the stick to someone else, or option B, where the facilitator can toggle a little setting, let's say, in this activity to enable the ability to just use that same old talking stick to be able to give it to someone. Okay, that's awesome. It seems to be still a little bit some emerging consensus on just giving the facilitator that option to enable that additional action if necessary. That's fantastic.
I would be curious to hear from the others on what made them choose option A versus option B.
I think I would rather, for now, I actually quite satisfied with this kind of setting, because if participant can just pass a stick to another participant, and I don't know why I feel it's kind of force someone else to talk. I would rather like the person who is talking put the stick back, and he or she just invite someone to talk, and if another person would like to talk, then they will pick up the stick. Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of targeting individuals to speak. There's something about, it has to be done carefully, or it can feel uncomfortable for people. So yeah, I don't have a strong feeling either way, but it's a caution for me.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, thanks again so much to you guys for, taking the time to really drill down into this type of interaction as well. I mean, we were really excited to actually see the talking stick in action amongst a group of facilitators and hear their thoughts on what works well and what doesn't. I think we've gathered some really awesome insights out of that, which just blows me away. It's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is, and we can always return to this conversation later, I'm going to end this activity just so that we can take another brief look at some of the other stuff that we've got here in Seshboard so far, to be able to hear your thoughts and feedback on that too. You may need to click the unmute button down there at the bottom of your screen to bring yourself back to normality. All right. So the next thing that we wanted to show you was something that is these days obviously pretty standard amongst online tools like this, the ability to put people into breakout groups, to be able to have those kinds of conversations. I know that it's a little bit difficult, obviously, for me to show you what the menu for this process looks like from my end, set up as the facilitator here in this case. So I'll just kind of describe it a little bit first, and then...
Anna, could you mute yourself? Thank you.
So I'll just describe what that menu and process looks like, just to give you guys a bit of an idea of it. So when you create a breakout session in Seshboard, what will happen is a little menu will pop up where you can basically have a whole bunch of different options for how you want to assign your groups. So for example, you can have people automatically distributed to different groups according to the number of people per group. So if we knew, for example, oh yeah, definitely I want people to do this exercise in threes, I could say, yeah, split them out by number of people, let's have 3 per group. And then I can do some fine tweaking there. I can click and drag the participant from one group to the next, and I can swap them with each other. Just a very, graphic way of interfacing with that. And I can also create my groups by the total number of groups. So if I knew that I was going to have a simulation of the union versus management, then definitely 2 groups, and split them out that way. And again, I can fine tweak by clicking and dragging people across. But another thing that you can do in Seshboard is you can actually save your breakout group assignments in advance. So for example, if I had a particular set of small group discussions that I knew I was going to have people go through, let's say people are going to practice a difficult conversation as a set of, one set of pairs, and then later on I'm going to swap up the groups, randomize it a bit, and assign them a different pair. I can really create, define each of these groups in advance, and then just open up the one that I've saved in advance to run that at the appropriate time in the workshop, to avoid the sort of like last minute frenetic assignment there. And I know that the way that you would really potentially unlock the greatest value out of that would be if, for example, you can define your breakout groups before people have even joined. Like you're doing your planning, you have a list of people that are going to be showing up to your workshop. Another feature that we're working on right now is the ability to actually pre-plan your breakout assignments even in advance of the workshop starting, so that later when people go and join the workshop, we're going to have a sort of guest list type arrangement where once someone has entered the workshop, just like when you guys were all admitted, you can put a tick mark next to your name, the name of the person that we're expecting, let's say. And that way we can actually correspond the person who's joining the workshop with the planning that we were doing on our end. Just because I know that it can be kind of a hassle when, for example, you've been planning your breakouts in Zoom and you've been working off of like one email address, expecting Michelle to sign in on one email address, but then she signed in on a different one. And how do you know if it's the right Michelle with the right email address? So the ability to correspond those two together is another thing that we're working on there. So what I'll do now is I'll actually go ahead and put us into breakouts. So I'm going to randomize us here a little bit. You guys will be in groups of 2 or 3, and you can see how it goes. I'll then also share a slide into the breakout group. So that's another thing that we're quite happy and excited about, is the ability to share a slide in a breakout so that you can have people referring to the instructions or the discussion prompts or whatever it may be. Let me actually just share the slide first and then put us in the groups, and that'll probably make it a little bit more clear. So here we can imagine that we have our discussion prompts, for example, for our groups, and then I'm going to go ahead and put us in our groups, and you guys will be able to operate off of those.
Hello. And now we can talk about the cat and the test.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Just checking in on the group. All right, I'm gonna go take a look at group number 2 now. Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao. What are we supposed to talk about?
Well, actually, I would just like to take this chance to say thank you to both of you so much for giving us your time so far and to give us some really useful feedback, just your reaction to the system. I've been jotting down some of the ideas that have come up, and I think that these are just like very, very insightful and really wonderful ideas. So thank you both so much for your contributions to this. I think it's been great. I think just before the call started, Michelle, we were just talking with Miriam about our goal for this session, which was basically just to have a free-form discussion, just to get some people's thoughts and kind of throw around some crazy ideas. And I feel like we've done that so far, and it's been great. It's just been such a pleasure to have you guys on the system.
Cool. I love that I can see how much time I've got left up there too. That's really, that's very good. Yeah. Awesome. Because one of the criticisms of a lot of breakout groups is nobody does keep accurate time, and then people are sucked like the TARDIS back into the main group partway through a conversation. Yeah, so that's cool. Yeah. Really clever. Can you change backgrounds?
We are working on that. So right now we've just put the single background in here. What we want to do is create like exactly. So we want to create like a background picker where you can choose any one of a number of backgrounds like this, or no background if you prefer. Some people just prefer like a clean look, so that they find it a bit too cluttered. It just depends on the sort of mood that you're looking for and like what people are trying to do. Another thing is we're very conscious of like how you may want to use the system for branding for yourself, right? So there are some screens that you saw at the beginning that said like log into Seshboard, right? We don't need it to be like that. This is your tool. So instead of saying Seshboard, it could have your name or, something like that to make it a bit more personal, maybe an image of yours or your logo or something, just to create a more special experience for participants, right?
Great.
So we do believe in this personalization, and it's kind of big. Yeah.
Cool.
I saw today a post about the new Zoom release that now you can play a video in the waiting room. And I thought this was actually a neat idea, where instead of just having the logo or instructions, to actually pre-record a welcome video with some instructions or meditation exercise or whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whoever comes to the waiting room kind of gets this.
Oh, and we're back in the main room.
All right.
This was unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. And there we go. Yeah, so breakout groups essentially operating in a way that you would more or less expect there.
Matt, before we continue, I'd just like to do maybe one more, it doesn't have to be a poll, but maybe just sort of ask the room. So I noticed that, when Michelle and Miriam and I were in our breakout group together, we were having a conversation about something. And then suddenly we were brought back to the main room with no notice. Yeah. So that's just a feature that's missing. Like we want to give you a heads up or some notice before it happens. And I'm just wondering, like the way that Zoom would do it is, you have a countdown, and it's like, you have seconds before you go back to the main room. Maybe just a quick show of hands. I mean, who likes the countdown, or who would prefer, maybe something else, something that we haven't thought of yet before. Maybe do you want to raise your hand if you actually like the countdown? Okay, and then does anybody have another idea in mind for what we can do to let people know the breakout's about to end? How would you do it?
Scott, I said in our session I really liked having the clock in the room. I thought that was really cool. And also it's a way of encouraging people to manage time, and that's often difficult on other platforms to talk to people about managing time. I wonder whether you could just do something really simple, like, it's a bit the countdown, but you change maybe the font of the clock, or the clock lights up, or something that happens.
Maybe a little sound, and it becomes more obvious, because you might not be looking at it. Right?
Yeah, you might not be looking at it, but it suddenly, it becomes yellow or whatever, and I go, I've got 90 seconds or something. Mm-hmm. And that would be great as a facilitator to be able to set that. So if I've got a long breakout group, I might want to let people know that they've got 5 minutes to go. Whereas if I've got a short breakout group, it might just be 60 seconds.
Right.
Sorry, Miriam.
I really like the idea, and I was just looking for a tool that I have for on-site workshops. It's a cube that changes color depending. So you can set a timer to 1, 5, 60, 90 minutes, and then the light of the cube changes the color from bright green to dark red, depending on how much time you have left. So I really like Michelle's idea that maybe the last minute is red and the last 5 or 10, or that after halftime, kind of it gets yellow, to have a visual clue. And then for the countdown, I think so right now, we're in the middle of a conversation. I was actually in the middle of a sentence, and suddenly we're thrown back into the main room, although we still had time on the clock. So and this happens sometime, right? Sometimes something happens and you have to call people back before. So I wonder whether there could be maybe a visual or just a warning. The facilitator calls you back. Or please, just to have this kind of mental, warning.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool, important idea as well, for sure.
Because I think we don't know what's happening in the breakout rooms. So there could be people just being silent with each other and counting the seconds until it's over. But it could as well be a very deep, intimate, vulnerable conversation. And if they're in this space, it can really do something with someone if without a warning, they're suddenly back with everyone.
And I wonder if it's possible that people come back from the breakout room because they want to finish and they want earlier to come back, or leave the breakout room by themselves, not when the time is over.
Yeah, I think we'll be adding that functionality as well. So right now you cannot, but I think if your team is done, if you're finished discussing and maybe you want to go back to the main room, it's something we can support. I see Miriam's maybe on the phone.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we should dive into it a bit more.
Or Michelle, did you have a comment as well?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, can you send messages to the breakout rooms? So, for example, can I ask them if they want more time, or do I need to do what Matthew did, which is drop into a breakout room to check that? So can I say, are you done, or do you need more time? Or can people message the facilitator and say, we're not clear on the second question, can you come and help us?
Yeah, no, that's a really good segue into the chat. So if you open up that little blue round chat icon in the bottom right-hand corner, at the top of that chat window, you'll see it says everyone up there for now. But if you click on that, you can see that you can send a message to everyone, or you can direct message folks. So for example, to be able to direct message the facilitator, that would also work from the breakout groups. But I think that what you're asking more is, could the facilitator send a message to like group 1 and group 2 and all the rest, right? So that's definitely something that we have on the roadmap here, is in the same way that we have these channels here, like the everyone channel and the direct message channel. When you're actually in a breakout group, how about having like a group 1 channel and a group 2 channel for like the people that are actually in that group? And then if the facilitator wants to send something out to folks in a particular group, like for example, if the instructions for group 1 are different from the instructions for group 2, for example, to be able to actually do that. Or if the instructions are the same for everybody, to send that set of instructions just to the everyone chat.
To come back to Anna's idea of having the option to come back to the main room, I like the setting on Zoom that you, as a facilitator, when setting the breakout sessions, you can actually decide whether they can or they cannot. Because I think especially when you work with a co-facilitator, the time in the breakout rooms is often a good time to just discuss, reshuffle, replan, or just take a break. And then, and I think it can be quite disturbing if then there are these breakout sessions and people just decide that they have nothing to say to each other. And then they come back and suddenly the facilitator has not only to coordinate with their co-pilot, but also host this unexpected breakout group and handle that. This could be much to juggle, but maybe it's just me who likes the control.
It depends on the situation, of course. But I had, for example, situation when it was a big exercise at the end of the session, and some groups were earlier than the others, so they came back, we had a small chat, and they could leave because nothing will happen after. So it depends, and I agree with you that it's good to be in your power as facilitator, to set it in a way you think it's good for you. And for your people, of course, for the sake of the exercise. I want also to ask if the visual, it's possible to be edited by everybody, or only it's pre-done by the facilitator in the breakout room?
Oh, like the slides that people are seeing?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so the way, obviously, that we're doing it right now is just for one slide to be shown to everyone, controlled by the facilitator. And the next step that we're looking at there is for a facilitator to put, for example, different slides in different groups. Because, for example, one group may, in a role play situation, they may have different instructions from another group. So that's going to be the next step there. Yeah, it's a fair question. Right now, we're not looking at letting people control the slides themselves, just because we've been thinking about this more from the direction of, replicating the sort of instructions that you might have up on an overhead or something like that when people are in a room. How would you sort of get that feeling when people are in their different breakouts there?
No, I was thinking like the function of a whiteboard where people can work together on some board.
Yeah. Okay, no, definitely. That's a really important thing. That's another thing that we're working on for the next version here, which is there's all sorts of different activities that people might be doing.
Yes.
For example, it might even be, working on a shared Google Doc together with your breakout group. And then you'll be sharing out with everyone later, or working on a whiteboard activity together with everybody else. So that's definitely in the pipe for the version 2 of this. Yeah.
Matthew, something to consider is let's say in the breakout group, we're working on writing on our flip chart page, like in real life, and we submit it, which means effectively we've torn it off, we've walked back into the main room and handed it to the facilitator, and then in a minute we're going to get up and present it. So we submit it, the facilitator, you in this example, gets a thumbnail of our flip chart, and then when they click on it, it becomes the visual for the whole plenary as we go through our, like that cheesy exercise report back. That ability would be quite useful.
Absolutely. Yeah. I completely agree. I've heard that from some other folks as well, the ability to manage that whole process of, well, hey, each different group has done its own different thing, and then they're going to be reporting it back. So how do you actually make that easy for folks? So I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it indicates how important that is in terms of our prioritization.
Great.
Good one.
Okay, brilliant. So I know that we've been sitting here all together for an hour, and I obviously want to be very cognizant of you guys' time and let you get on with your morning for a lot of you, or your afternoon or evening for some of you. So there's only one more little thing that I'll show. Another thing that we've done here is integrations with external tools. What we've done so far is integrated Miro into the Seshboard experience. So what I'm about to do right now is share a Miro whiteboard with everybody. Nobody needs to sign in. Nobody needs to do anything. What you should see now, I've just clicked the button, is Miro loading up on your screen. The full-featured Miro, essentially, to be able to do all of the Miro things like sticky notes and text and all the rest. So yeah, we just wanted to make this available because there is obviously a pain point around, if you are going to be using another tool like this, having everybody navigate to another tab or window can be kind of distracting. So yeah, just wanted to make sure that this is available. So I just want to get a quick read. Does Miro seem to be loading up okay on everybody's machine?
Very well.
Okay.
I just got another tracking attempt message.
Okay. That one may not even be from us. That one may even be from Miro.
Yeah, sure.
Your computer seems quite protective recently, Michelle.
Actually, that was a question I was going to ask. Just, I have different clients who are comfortable with different platforms. A lot of government clients won't use anything except Microsoft Teams. So, I don't know where you guys sit with that, but is that a potential barrier to introducing this to new clients, sensitivity around security and that sort of thing?
I think, Matt, I'd like to answer that one because it's something near and dear to my heart. So, I mean, when it comes to privacy, we take that extremely seriously. So, you may have noticed that when you signed in, for example, where we didn't ask for email address, we didn't ask for people to create an account. It's just your name. It doesn't have to be your real name, just a name that people will recognize. And we are not doing any kind of user tracking or any kind of stuff like that at all. So if there are any requirements, that we can prove that we meet to make people comfortable, we're happy to do it. We don't believe in collecting data like that. It really goes against our philosophy a lot.
Yeah, and even on a more sort of down to earth sort of basis, I know that a lot of organizations, or client organizations, they would say, well, we definitely don't want you to use Zoom because you have to download and install that, and you're not allowed, where people aren't going to be allowed to download and install software from external places onto their organization issued computer. So that's why for us, it was also important to make this a web-based tool, just so that all you would be doing is essentially sending people to a meeting link, just like we had here, and then things just load within the browser. And then, as Scott says, even as all of that's going on, to do that in a super privacy-conscious way that's really light, so that it's not even bothering with any of that kind of data, just running simply, essentially, in the browser. Okay, so you can see that we've definitely got some artists amongst the group. That's fantastic. I've just got to ask: is that a kiwi bird at the bottom, or is that a chicken?
It was just an imaginary chicken bird.
I mean, it looks like an amazing combination between a kiwi bird from New Zealand plus a pig's tail.
Yeah. That was basically what went through my mind, yeah. I started with the chicken and then I thought, a little bit of a pig would actually be nice, and why not making it walk?
Wow. Okay, great. So I will go ahead and close that off for us, because I think that was essentially all of the things that there are to see and do in this current version of Seshboard. So again, I think Scott and I both just wanted to thank you all so much for making the time to run through this all and give us all of your feedback. I know that we did some real deep dives into some of these features, and your thoughts and feedback both as users and as professional facilitators and facilitators who are at the cutting edge of facilitation in the Never Done Before group, all together, just absolutely fantastic. So thank you again also, Miriam, for making this conversation possible. It's hugely valuable for us, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Quick question. Do we have time for a checkout? Just to go round the circle with one sentence, maybe, one sentence. What was most valuable for you today, and what are you still curious about?
Absolutely. So which direction, which part of the table would we like to start at first?
Anna, do you want to start?
There's the disadvantage to be the first in line. I want to thank you, Miriam, and both to you that you allowed us and shared with us your fantastic platform. And I want to congratulate for your initiative and wish you success. And for me, it was really interesting to see all the features, and I like the idea that we have big photos so we can see each other nicely, and also
I just popped you in the middle there because I realized I forgot to show that. Maybe I'll pop everyone in the middle if they're keen whilst we're giving our review.
But can we pop ourselves, or it's the facilitator who?
That is a really good question. Maybe this is the last chance for a show of hands. Who thinks that it would make sense for the participant to be able to pop themselves into the middle?
So
a
if
show of hands for that.
if I start, maybe the rule would be come in the middle so that everybody see you.
Yeah.
And then you go in the middle, you go back, and you leave other people to come in the middle. Yeah, it would be a nice feature.
Okay. Fantastic.
So thank you, and thank you all.
Thanks, Anna.
And Christian, okay, I have to name somebody, Christian.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So you made already a good summary, but I liked also the line stepping, when you start with the meeting or start with some questions, and you see that people are, let's say, they are reacting to specific questions. This I liked a lot. With the stick. I like it as well. There are pros and cons to give the stick to someone else during a discussion, or to ask someone specifically for a question. So I think it's very flexible. The tool seems to be really flexible, and I also like the thing that you can put up the slides, the tutorial or slides that you used, but. If it could be feasible to have also the possibility to write some notes. Let's say if we have larger the breakout groups which go for a quarter of an hour or something like that, then you can wrap up immediately in the session, and then everyone can see what is presented later on. This could be a great thing. Okay, thank you. So I give the stick now to Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Fantastic. Very human-centered and intuitive, which I think is really nice. One of the concerns I have about lots of platforms is that they require a lot of pre-work for people to learn and be comfortable, and we can't always assume that everybody has done that. So this was really easy to navigate and be part of. I am curious about how you keep it very streamlined. Even in what we did today, there was a lot going on and a lot to absorb. So what are the ways that we can keep it clean and not tire people with too much input and too much visual? So keep it nice and clean so people don't get exhausted. Oh, sorry, Nisar.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm very surprised by this tool. I got a lot of ideas, and I can see a lot of potential. The way I would put it out is there is a dimension of space added, which if I compare with other tools, because you literally are on a space dimension, you can do so much with it, right? So we can pass the stick around, we can go up, down, left, right. But I think what would be interesting also to check, and I just had some random ideas about it, is more gamification elements, so that the whole engagement aspect can be far more optimized. And yeah, I think yeah, it's those things that really pique my interest in creating more engagement, because you can, for example, move around the screen and then do some discussions, and you can create maybe like text boxes that someone can speak and move around. So there's so much more, and both for really like teams and corporate environments, I could see this, but also more for like a reflection day or for people who are you know, not just for fun's sake or something like that. I can see multiple purposes, and yeah, the question is really which direction do you want to go? Standardize it more, or facilitate it in such a way that the facilitator has more control. I think that's roughly the dimensions. Yeah, so a lot around it. So yeah, good job, guys.
Thank you.
Marcus?
Yes, thank you. Look, I love just seeing this community on the few chances I get to, I'm able to join with it. So for Scott and Matthew, that was, you know, you were the excuse. It's just lovely to re-engage with colleagues around the world in this beautiful craft. The thing I've been struck by is how we're sat in the same spot. I think I'm probably a counterpoint to Nisar's point. I think these platforms are working too hard to come up with tricks and gimmicks and things to flip and move and drag and drop and color and box and outline, when in fact, you know, the great thing is it's a group of people in communion with itself and talking together. That's not to say those things don't have their place, but I guess my counsel would be, I think a lot of people are running that race, trying to come up with clever, cute things. I'd say the space is crowded, whereas if you went almost the other way, going, this will feel most like a circle of chairs with real people, you might find white space in pursuing that. So I think what you've done here is it's quite lovely. Like, it's lovely just to say, oh yeah, we're back in the big room and I'm sitting in the same spot, which would be what would happen. So thank you for what I think feels like a counterintuitive race for little tricks and games and things for people to do. I think the reason we hear from Silicon Valley about, oh, look, it does this and oh, look, it does that, is because none of those people know how to facilitate. They're 20-year-old Scrum Masters. They've got no clue how to get a group to talk. So they go, quick, let's give them a card to flip or a box to shake or a dice to roll. It's like they're 6 years old. Whereas for people who actually know how to facilitate and have been doing it for 10 and 20 years, they go, I don't need any of that. I just want a platform that's stable, that's robust, that's bulletproof across browsers, that gets through corporate IT firewalls without any headaches, and that doesn't require any cognitive load for my new users. It feels like you're on your way to that. Well done.
Thank you.
To Peggy, thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. It's really nice to have this session and have like sneak peek of all the features. I think I like the talking stick most, but for me, I think it's not the feature to ask people to talk. Probably for me, it's more like create like a game or competition in a small group, and I think it would be fun. But I'm also looking forward to have some other features. And thank you so much.
I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said before, which is, you know, really grateful to have had the chance to, you know, have you guys involved. Oh, pardon?
Miriam.
Oh, but I think Peggy is next in the circle, right? Or am I?
No, I already talked.
Or is it my turn then?
I have talked.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think it was just because Matt was literally next and he felt obliged to say
I
something.
thought we all needed to say something.
Oh, sorry, Matthew. I was thinking you were wrapping up and we hadn't heard.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you guys again so much for all of you, but that's what I got out of here, which I thought was absolutely great.
Okay, and then I'll quickly say, thank you as well so much to everybody else. Not wrapping up, but just, thank you for your input. And, I think it's very important, the point that was raised. We don't want a lot of like gimmicks or features for the sake of having features or confusing things like this. Mostly want to get out of your way, let you use the space online. And if there are things that we can do to make it more fun, to gamify or increase engagement in subtle ways, we'll help you do that. But other than that, you guys know your craft best. And this is a tool to support that, right? And that's me on my side. So Miriam.
Yay. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the session and the playing around. And for me, most valuable, okay, where to start? I loved the fact that we yes-anded and played around with the tool, and basically you handed us over the facilitation kind of stick in the beginning so that we could be creative together and see what's possible in the space. I found this very intriguing, even beyond the tool, to just learn from each other how do we facilitate a space. I agree with Marcus and with Michelle that the simplicity of the tool, that I feel confident to invite corporate teams and don't need to expect them to move their circles around and to be overly gamified. And I also see your niche with all these video conferencing tools mushrooming at the moment. And I would say many of those. I think to have a clear focus on, okay, we are looking for groups that are no larger than 16 to really have these conversations and how to make it as easy as possible for the participants to join and secure, obviously, for the corporates. Mm-hmm. One more thing that I'm always intrigued how the use of a new conferencing tool kind of reveals our implicit rules that we have. So for instance, now we have the clear sequence. So somehow it's clear who speaks next. But previously, so in all the other sessions on Never Done Before, usually we nominate who speaks next in our checkout. Mm-hmm. So how do we have to rephrase and reframe exercises depending on the environment in which we are, to which we are inviting participants to? I find this intriguing. And also how chaotic the talking stick exercise became. It reminds me of, facilitating facilitators is like herding cats. Yes, let's have a talking stick. Yes, it's our opportunity to all speak at the same time. So I found this very insightful, even beyond this wonderful tool. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. And let's put our hands together to Matt and Scott. Thank you. Keep us posted. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe just the last thing I'll say, because we'd love to have you guys involved with the next steps in this product that we're building. We'd love to stay in touch with all of you guys. So it's true, we're not going to bombard you all with a bunch of emails unless you sign up for our newsletter on our website. So if you visit seshboard.com, I'll actually just throw that in the chat as well, just in case. Seshboard.com. I would love to have you as part of our community of beta users, people who we can really trust to give really insightful, thoughtful, meaningful input to us as we design the entire future of this thing. And it'd be lovely to stay in touch that way.
So is there an option that we can already use the tool?
Yeah, so we're rolling out, we're in closed beta right now. So what that means is as people sign up, we're just making sure that we can accommodate usage. If you sign up at seshboard.com, then you will get your closed beta login credentials from us. We'll send that to you so that you can go in and use the tool yourself. As you can see, right, like not in a client-facing sort of situation just quite yet, but between colleagues, friends, let's say, just to get a sense of, hey, like what did work, what didn't work, like what feedback are we going to tell these guys about what they should fix or new directions to pursue. That's all super valuable for us, so we'd love to have you guys.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. See you.